And Mike Papantonio, host of a Ring of Fire Radio, America's Lawyer, ringofireradio.com, and Ring of Fire TV as well on Free Speech TV is on the line with us. Hey, Pap.
Tom, how are you?
I am great, but I'll get better. I hope you are well.
Things good here.
I understand you're a little fired up about net neutrality. Congress is talking about this, and I've only been sort of half paying attention to it. There's so many other things going on, and I know that you've been really focused on it like a laser. What's going on?
Well, policy, you start here, Tom. Policy for the FCC in past years has always been that the Internet provides it requires that slow channels and fast channels aren't there, that there's no rich man, no poor man channel, that it's not a business of have and have-nots. But that was before AT&T and Verizon became fully and completely an active arm of the NSA, willing to spy on their customers by turning their phone records in, their Twitter records in, their messages in, their Facebook information in, over to the government, over to the NSA. That's what changed things. And think about this, AT&T, Verizon, Comcast get total immunity for doing all of that, both by way of Bush and both by way of Obama. So remember how one of their defenses, Tom, was, gee whiz, we're being ordered to do it, and by golly, we're not really making any money right now by doing it. Well, now we see that Comcast and AT&T and Verizon all knew that the big payday was coming if they simply would do what the government told them to do. They have a profit bonanza that this administration wants to give them. They want to give them a web where AT&T has a super fast a channel for people with money, companies with huge dollars, and a poor man's channel that's almost prehistoric, a 56K dial-up dinosaur modem kind of thing. And it's a system where AT&T and Verizon, out of vengeance, out of envy, out of political differences, they can make activists and critics and political opponents and competitors, they can make them disappear. They can buffer them out of existence. They can freeze the images of them out of existence. They can engage in non-delivery entirely. They know the numbers. They know that most people watching this program, if this is buffering right now, they're changing the channel. So we've seen we saw the big first payday, if you remember, 2006. In 2006, Obama declined, in this administration, think about this, declined to even investigate telecom providers, even though individual lawsuits were springing up all over. You had lawyers that had uncovered all kinds of complicity between the NSA and the telecom providers, and there was no reason for the administration to do that. The cases were very clear. The biggest joke here is, and this is the most bothersome thing about the story, Tom. The biggest joke is that it's Tom Wheeler, who's an ex-telecom lobbyist, by the way, and Obama appointment to the FCC, that Tom Wheeler is trying to make the American public believe that there's real public discourse going on here, that they really care about the opinions. They already have this done. As a matter of fact, the entire lawsuit is a sham. It's exactly what we saw with Citizens United. The Supreme Court wanted the case, so the lawsuit was filed. Same thing we see with gun activists. The Supreme Court wants the issue, so the lawsuit is filed. Same thing we see on voting. The people that want to take votes away want the lawsuit. The Supreme Court wants the lawsuit, so it's filed. This is the same thing. Verizon versus FCC is nothing different than Citizens United. It's a sham. It's simply there as window dressing to make all of us believe that discourse is really the issue. This is a done deal, Tom.
Yeah,
AT&T and Verizon and Comcast. Now, that doesn't mean we stop. Doesn't mean we don't do anything about it. But I'm just telling you, this is the mentality there in Washington right now.
Well, here's the thing that blows my mind is the way the media is dealing with this. And let's take what's supposed to be the most neutral media in America, National Public Radio. This was what I woke up to yesterday. It's a little 30-second clip here. Listen to this about trying to explain the issue about why these giant companies had to get twice as giant. Notice the word monopoly is not mentioned here at all. Just listen to this, Pep.
If you've streamed a movie or a TV show recently, you are part of the problem facing cable and satellite providers. These companies are facing more and more competition from internet streaming, and to survive, some are consolidating. Yesterday, AT&T announced that it is buying the satellite TV provider DirecTV. The deal, which still needs to be approved by government regulators, would be worth nearly $50 billion.
Now, I thought at least they could have the decency to say the deal, which has to be approved by the people who look out for monopolies. I mean,
well,
but it's our fault, really? Because I watched Netflix last night? It's my fault?
Yeah, you did this, Tom. Listen, the real problem is the media can't even understand this story. They don't understand what I just talked about. Go try to find the discussion about the idea that the payday for AT&T and Comcast and the payday is for them spying on Americans is, look, just do this for us. We're going to give you immunity. I know it's hurt your customer base. People are mad at you. But you know what? Be patient, and Tom Wheeler is going to give you your payday. And it's going to come in a way that nobody really suspects. It's going to look like all of this public discourse really matters. It doesn't matter. It's a done deal. And so I'm not saying stop. We have to continue trying, but you have to understand the mechanics of how this came about. If you try to understand this story, you'll never understand it from corporate media. Comcast, I mean, well, they're going to tell the story. They're going to say, yeah, we knew when we were handing over information about phone records and messages and tweets. We knew when we were doing that.
I don't think I've ever seen that discussed on MSNBC or NBC.
Well, I don't think it's discussed anywhere, frankly. I just don't think it's discussed anywhere.
It's an old boys network, Pap.
Say again?
It's an old boys network.
Yeah. Well, but worse than that, the average reporter doesn't even get it. The average reporter doesn't understand. Nothing happens simply by coincidence. Verizon didn't file this case, in the way that they filed it by coincidence. They were asked to file it. They were an agreement to file it because they knew when they filed it that Tom Wheeler and the FCC was going to take care of them. I mean, That's what this is about. And so the truth is there's going to be two channels. It's going to be a fast channel and a slow channel. And you're going to see that if Comcast or Verizon, if they have an activist they don't like or a critic or a political opponent or a competitor, they're going to make them disappear. They're going to buffer them away. They're going to frozen image them away. They're going to non-deliver them away.
Right. Just as they've done with cable television, by the way. I mean, there's some substantial barriers to access to cable television.
It happened with telephone system, Tom. Think back.
Yeah.
Think about the small carriers that tried to move into the business, and what was the payoff? You followed the money on that. If you take that instance, if you take that scenario and you compare it to this, is it exactly the same? The money was spread around exactly the same, and the outcome will be exactly the same.
Yeah, there was that little window there after Jimmy Carter broke up AT&T into 7 regional companies and spun off Lucian Technologies, where small phone companies were appearing in towns all over America. They got squashed like bugs, didn't they?
There hasn't been a Jimmy Carter around for a long time, and don't expect anything like Jimmy Carter out of this administration. Tom Wheeler is part of the problem. What I love about Tom Wheeler, even though he's a pimp for the NSA, even though he's simply going to say whatever he has to say to make it look like this is an arm's length discussion, that this is a real lawsuit and they're really concerned about public discourse. He's very good at it. If you listen to him talk, you're almost convinced that this guy's for real. He's not for real.
Yeah.
He's a fraud, and this is all window dressing.
That's how you get to be a multimillionaire lobbyist, is by sounding really convincing. Yes. It's amazing. Mike Papantonio. Author, America's lawyer, host of Ring of Fire Radio, ringofireradio.com, and Ring of Fire TV over on Free Speech TV. Pap, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you, Tom.
Great talking with you.